As Grenada prepares to present its 2020 budget in the midst of a global pandemic, we have gathered a panel of representatives from across civil society to discuss issues affecting Grenada's development. Thrown into the mix for today's show is a technocrat in the person of Dr. Patrick Entwine.
It is now more evident than before COVID that we must address long-standing weaknesses in our economic and social systems. For instance,
Dr. Entwine recently formed a non-governmental organization titled the Grenada Movement. We would be examining the role of such an organization as part of the larger remit of the functioning of civil society in Grenada. The Bubb Report would also be featuring the upcoming 1261 Film Festival that will be held virtually for the first time at the end of this month. We welcome our panelists for this morning's show: Mashida Phillip, Jude Bernard, Cassandra Mitchell, and Dr. Patrick Entwine. It's Sunday, October 11th, 2020, and welcome to the Bubb Report. A pleasant good morning to everyone, and let me welcome you to another Sunday edition of the Bubb Report. Certainly last week, I had a hiatus. I had some personal matters to attend to. Well, I shouldn't call it really personal, but I had matters to attend to with respect to my doctoral dissertation research. And there are some good news on that front as well. So welcome back. We are in the month of October. And in a couple of weeks, the United States of America will be proceeding with a general election on the 3rd of November. Also over in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves announced an election for the 5th of November in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It was all hope that we were going to have a representative from St. Vincent to come on our show this morning, but that was not meant to be. But certainly, I want to take this opportunity to welcome my first guest today, who is, I believe, Mashida Phillip. You actually indicated that you just arrived in Grenada last night. Is that what it is, Mashida?
Yes, I did. I came in yesterday, and it was quite an interesting experience, actually, to let people know that Grenada is open again, and the process was very seamless, in my opinion.
Okay. You said it was seamless, and I know that, of course, Grenada is open to commercial traffic. And what made it seamless to you?
For me, I guess coming from New York and being on lockdown and understanding all the procedures and everything like that, the mere fact that they are trying to put measures in place to have some level of protecting the community for all of the international travelers coming in. I like the fact that when you deboarded the plane, basically you have to go through a process of sanitizing yourself before entering. You have numbers, you have to go through all of your paperwork. Then you visit the nurse's stand. They have a number that you need to check in daily. And you clear your immigration status, and there is a designated group of taxi services that would take you to your designated quarantine facility. So for me, it's just seeing that that's in place, and the process went by reasonably fast, in my opinion.
Okay. So as I understand it, they have revised the quarantine expectations for Grenadians or travelers coming from the United States.
Yes.
So now the quarantine period has been reduced to a period of 4 days. Now,
a minimum.
Is it a minimum of 4 days?
A minimum of 4 days. A minimum of 4 days, but they're still letting you know that the quarantine period is 14 days.
So that is not set in stone then.
Well, when they announced it upon our arrival, the announcement was made that the quarantine period is from today till till like 14 days from now. That was yesterday. with a minimum of 14 days. And I guess what's happening, the Ministry of Health will come through. They will test everyone after 4 days. Should you show signs, then they would clear you to either get out of quarantine or you would have to remain in quarantine. So that's just a process based, I think, on the individual, the independent individual. That's how I interpret it.
Okay, so you are in Grenada. Let us segue into what we will be talking about this morning.
Yes.
You are in Grenada for the film festival, the 1261 Film Festival.
Yes.
This is, how many years have you been doing this festival?
This is our second year, actually. We got segue because of COVID, and we decided to do a hybrid edition. And by hybrid, I mean we have limited in-person experiences here in Grenada. So we'll be showcasing in 3 locations here in Grenada with limited access. And the majority of the festival will be streamed virtually online.
Okay. And obviously it will be virtual. So can you tell us what are some of the featured films that will be a part of the festival this year?
Oh my God. Well, in Grenada, we are actually opening up our Grenada installment with a film called To Licorice. That is a film that was produced by a Vincentian filmmaker, and it was shot in Barbados. It's a dark comedy talking about the Caribbean sensibilities and stuff like that. So I think that is fun, it's light. And following that, we have a plethora of different shorts, as well as other feature films from the Caribbean and African diaspora. So as of now, we have about 57 films in our catalog that will be streamed throughout the 5 days. Panel discussions, conversations with filmmakers as far as Africa and all the way back through the Caribbean diaspora. So it's a very immersive experience that we are bringing forth for people of all different levels. If you're an emerging filmmaker and you're interested, there's something for you. If you're an established filmmaker, come network with us. If you are just a film lover who appreciates information or films from the Black and the Black community, support us in that sense. But we have a very nice experience this year that I want everyone to know. We're doing the first in-person screening at the Anade Waterfall with a live concert, and that will be on Saturday, October 31st. So I'm excited about that.
Why are you excited about that?
It's never been done before. It's a challenge. And, the mere fact that we're utilizing one of Grenada's most beautiful landscapes to incorporate it back and show our international audiences what Grenada has to offer. I'm excited so we can see how that is translated over in the virtual world.
Okay. And so you mentioned the African diaspora. I mean, obviously, I think we're all part of the African diaspora, but would you be having any specific representation from the continent?
Yes, we do. We have several films specifically from the continent. Forgive me, I can't tell you all of the filmmakers' name now, but we do have a feature film, like a noir film, a film noir set back into like old Hollywood 1940s black and white film that is coming out of Africa. We have different short films, and one of them that sticks with me is called The Fisherman. It's a comedy, and just seeing how there are so many similarities in our traditions, our culture. You're not sure if it's in Guam, the film was shot in Grenada here, or if it's in West Africa. So I'm excited about that.
Okay, all right. That sounds really exciting. Now that you are in Grenada, obviously the expectation is that your quarantine period is going to be 4 days, only 4 days.
I'm hoping. I've been very careful. I've been inside quarantining myself since the beginning of this. I lived outside of New York City, so my risk factor was less in my opinion. So I'm hoping that it can be 4 days because you can't leave the room. I am literally in my apartment and I cannot leave the apartment.
Okay. All right. So we do have a website. It's called 1261filmfestival.com.
Yes.
And hybrid edition, I'm going to post that up here on the Bubb
Thank you.
Reports in the comments section,
Thank
so that
you.
folks can actually see that.
Passes will go on sale this week, so people can check out all of the things that we're offering.
Right. So the passes would only be on sale on the website, or would it be available in other
It's
on
going.
other platforms?
Everything will be fueled through our website to make things seamless, and then it will be exported to either Eventbrite for our international audiences or go to Fed for our local audiences. Because we do have a children's focused day that will be showcasing a lot of films for children. Have panels that is spearheaded and featuring emerging actors and children who are in the industry. So yeah, so it's a lot. So people need to visit the website to see everything that we're offering.
Right. I see that. I know someone who would be very proud of the work that you're doing is the late great George Grant.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
you know, I spoke to him, in conversation. He spoke with great adulation of your talent. So I do remember him at this time as well.
Yes, I agree. Well, thank you
Yep,
for this.
absolutely. Mashida, thank you again for appearing on the Bubb Report. All the
Mhm.
very best to you on the film festival. All the very best with quarantine. I
Thank you.
trust that you would have a seamless quarantine experience,
I
and
hope so.
that at the end of this period you can give us, obviously you gave us a review, which was good, so for other travelers who are coming from North America, we would have a sense of what those expectations are now that commercial flights have resumed in the spice. All
Thank
right,
you again.
Mashida, have a good
No
one,
problem.
and
Bye.
enjoy Grenada.
All
All
right,
right,
then.
folks, we would be right back. We now have going to headlines. Bye bye.
Do all this while you try to manage a country. Make sure you have enough money. Ministry of Finance, and you hear nobody giving credit about this, but then you hear you are a dictator. Dictator. So, Mr. Speaker, so we have all these things, and I listened to all the members of the team, and they've spoken about so many things that have been done in this difficult period. I want to continue to give credit to all of them. And to also say, Mr. Speaker, this is difficult time for finances. I've listened to my colleagues in the regional level, and OECS and CARICOM. We should feel very fortunate here. Some countries can't pay salaries. Where public servants getting salaries there, but some countries can't pay. Some countries giving cash, half bonds to public servants. It's happening in the region right now. Some, whatever stimulus activity they've given, nothing compared to what we are giving here. Vendors getting, who used to earn a livelihood, and they need it. We have had to give them something.
All right, welcome back, folks. And this morning, I have managed to put together a panel from Civil Society. It's not the full panel that I expected. Two of the panelists, unfortunately, would not be able to make it this morning. But certainly I had the opportunity to get here. Cassandra Mitchell, Dr. Patrick Antwine, who formed a recent non-profit organization, an NGO, as he calls it, and Jude Bernard, who was also part of the Carmahon Park pressure organization a couple of years ago. And what we want to do this morning, folks, is that we want to address a lot of the concerns as Grenada is preparing to go into a budgetary period. But there is a lot happening. And let me just begin by saying, preface this by saying that media, the mass media, the press, as I call it, the fourth estate, is also supposed to be part of civil society. To the extent that the current Media Workers Association of Grenada is playing that role, I think the jury is still out on that. And so, an invitation was not extended to the Media Workers Association to appear this morning, but certainly we will be having a media panel in the lead up to Grenada's budget. But I want to begin with Dr. Antwine. Dr. Antwine, first of all, congratulations on the formation of your new NGO. Obviously, you are a technocrat. You also operated in the political space. You were a very close advisor to Grenada's current Prime Minister. As a matter of fact, I'm going to begin our conversation by playing a tacit endorsement that you gave of the current Prime Minister in a previous election campaign. Here we go.
You a number of questions. I told a couple colleagues of mine that we had lost 4.5 years. These NDC colleagues tell me no, they disagree. We've only lost 2. Based on what I just told you, you know that we lost 4.5 years. So here what I want to ask you. Listen, can we really afford to lose 5 more years? Can we really afford to use 5 more years? Can we afford 5 more years of missed opportunity? Can we really afford 5 more years of lost hope? Can we afford 5 more years of a lost generation? If that happens, we would have lost a decade, 10 years, 10 years. So I put the case to you this way. If you have a ship, and you have a captain running that ship, and he did not maintain the electrical system on that ship over the last 4.5 years. Hear me out. Now the ship, the SS Grenada, won't start. But the captain refuses to even consider replacing the battery. In part, that is because he would have to admit that he was wrong before. So he insists that all the passengers must get off somewhere out there in Kikomjini and swim. Clearly you have a problem. Hear me out. Clearly you have a problem. But the problem is with the captain. It is not with the SS Grenada. It is not with the SS Grenada. Grenada will rise again. I said Grenada will rise again. I said the NNP will deliver. We will deliver for you. Our team will deliver for you. They're going in the wrong direction. And the NNP's team will set it right. I thank you. One love.
Now, Dr. Antwine, that was a very strong endorsement of the current leadership of the government of Grenada, which is led by your colleague and friend, obviously your former political colleague, Dr. Keith Mitchell. You have, I guess, fallen out of grace with the leader of the country. And now you formed a non-profit, essentially. Now, how credible are you within the context of this organization that you formed? You endorsed the Prime Minister. You, in endorsing the current Prime Minister, you said that the previous government in essence, didn't really do a good job of managing the affairs of the country. Now, how do you respond to the concerns that Grenadians have that you are, in essence, what some might say is a turncoat?
Well, thank you for that. It seems to me as though you're asking and answering the question at the same time, but I hope you give me a chance to answer.
Absolutely. That's why I invited you on.
First of all, you begun by saying that I was an advisor to the Prime Minister. Let's keep things factual, because you will never get me to step away from the facts as they exist. I was an advisor to the government of Grenada. And when the press starts interpreting what should be in fact appointments by the state as appointments by the Prime Minister, the press has a problem. And it came across in the question you asked. I want to point that out. Secondly, I want to point out before I enter into responding substantively that civil society includes the opposition. So I've heard you speak about the absence of the Media Association. I want to factually put it to you that civil society in the normal course and construct of things includes opposition parties, however many there are. Civil society is a construct that takes on board opposition, interest groups, NGOs, etc. Just for the records, and I want to set that one aside. The third issue. In 2013, the country faced a very different set of circumstances as it faces now. In 2013, if you go back without taking the time on your program, you would recognize that even by the admission of the opposition party now, there were serious governance problems internally, which they in fact admit made it difficult for them to go to the election as a united force. In short, no one will rewrite the narrative of 2013 by giving the sense that there were one set of circumstances existing at the time, which led people like myself very objectively and very correctly to indicate that there was a problem with the leadership of the country at the time, whether it was for internal purposes or otherwise. There was a problem, and manifestly so, where the party was split, went to the election split, and one faction of the party now serves with Prime Minister Mitchell. So I ask you this. It is strange to me that no one has ever asked that faction of the party if they're turncoat. It is strange to me that, having regard to the fact that men sat in cabinet, took decisions on, no, I'm going to answer the question this way.
Yes.
No, you see, because you see, we have to put the facts before the people.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that, having served as an advisor to the administration, and having regard to the fact that you introduced me properly, so I give you credit, sir, as a technocrat, I do not feel that the issue turncoat even arises. What is the issue is that the challenges before us now, and the challenges that we stood on a platform and represented to the people of Grenada in 2013, and the solution of the new economy was not pursued. And you would recognize, sir, I'm sure if you listened and you read my statement on behalf of the group, not personal, that we believe the new economy and the new society still needs to be pursued. So, sir, what is constant, sir? What is unchanging is my commitment to delivering a new economy. Whatever construct, sir, that comes in, whether it comes in the construct of another form, another creature. And so, because the TGM is an NGO, we do not intend as a TGM, yes, to get into the hustings of a political party. Certainly,
and I'm going to stick to that point. So,
just for the records, I've set you straight on the fact that the new economy is what the NNP went to the people with in 2013. What you spoke to the new economy, and I'm putting it to you, sir, that the new economy is that which we believe becomes even more important now than it was in 2013 because of COVID. Sir, that is the constant.
So my question is, do you believe that the non-governmental structure in which in which the organization that you have formed would be the most effective way of addressing or giving prescription to the concerns that you've raised. And I would say this: I had an opportunity to read or to listen to your presentation, and you make some very substantive points. But to what extent would the non-governmental constructs in which you are operating in would be effective for you to be able to accomplish those prescriptive measures that you talk about?
Thank you, thank you. I want to credit you for the question because it gives me a chance to answer in a tabla rasa. The way I'm going to approach that is this. We believe that our country is too divided. We believe that for certainly over the last 20 years, the divisions have grown. We believe that we have a substantial number of persons who have a lot to offer, but who are not doing so for whatever reason, sir. And as a consequence, we believe that if we are to move forward in these times of COVID, but admitting to, sir, that before COVID, our economy showed signs of slowdown. And what we indicated in the presentation is that at the best of times, unemployment was stubborn. The opportunities for Grenadians was stubborn. And we believe that those were indications that the old economy had essentially grown to a stage where we needed to look for a new trajectory. And so we believe that what needs to be done first is to bring all the parties together without prejudice to political, allegiance is the word. We believe that it's not just the political parties, it's the Evangelical Association, it's the other NGOs, it's civil society, it's the youth, it's farmers. We believe that that is what will take us as a country forward. And we believe that that can best be done by an institution such as the TGM that wants to form a common agenda without prejudice, sir, to either the Green Party or the Yellow Party. What happens later is another question.
But I'm going to bring in Cassandra here, because Cassandra, I also have some questions for you with respect to, you also recently formed a pressure group, right? Now, I do not know the context of this pressure group, but I get a sense that, what you're attempting to do is to bring concerns that you have to the table, to the fore, by channeling your energies through this group. But my question is, and this is the question that I'm raising to Dr. Antoine, and I'm going to bring in Mr. Bernard as well. We already have organizations in Grenada who do this work. We have the interagency group of development organizations. We have Friends of the Earth, right? So we have a number of organizations that operate within that civil society space as well. So the question I think I'm asking is, why is there a need for other pressure groups if you guys are already functioning within particular organizational structures? And this is for Cassandra and Jude, not so much Dr. Twine, but he can jump in after. But I want Cassandra to answer first.
Well, one of the reasons why we decided to form the Grenada United Movement, GUM, is that for years, as young people have noticed that while we have worked with other organizations, as you correctly said, who have existed, there seems to be a perception that these organizations are working in solace. And COVID has opened the doors to show us a lot of weaknesses, as well as some of the strengths within our system. And when we spoke up initially about the Smith issue, which was the first issue that we decided to show some support for, we came together as young people and we decided, you know what, for years we have sat in our respective corners. We have in our respective areas voiced our concerns on different issues. But it's about time that as young people, as Grenadians, we come together and be a collective and voice our concerns. Because yes, we have been doing it, you're right. You know, you see the likes of Gina and Gren Code and others doing work and commendable work. But what I've noticed is a lot of the times this work are done in solace with all the. So we need to come together, especially young people who have felt that that our voices have been stifled for so long, and that we have been made promises by our elected officials and by our leaders, even in the private sector, and we have not seen those promises come to fruition. So we want our voices to be heard now, and that is one of the main reasons why we came together and said, yes, all of this is to affect us as young people. it affects us as Canadians. And it's about time that we stand up and let our leaders know that we have been watching. We are concerned about the issues, national issues, and that is the sole objective. I know for now, have no interest in getting involved in the political arena. If any one of us do decide to get involved in politics in the near future, I've said several times that the movement will support them if they do decide to step into the political field.
Do you have political ambitions, Cassandra? And do you want to publish some breaking news on the Bubb Report this morning?
No, I don't. No, I don't. 'Cause I'm very, very honest about this. I've been involved in civil society and advocacy all my adult life. It has given me the ability to speak my mind and not be necessarily diplomatic about my views. So I really like being in civil society. So for now, no, I do not see myself in frontline politics. I tried it at some point in my life, and when the doors of politics were open to me, I did not like what I saw on the inside.
Okay, all right. Well, we have tape. Tape doesn't die. Okay, I will be playing it back if you do decide to get involved in politics. Jude, now I'm going to turn to you. Now, a lot has been happening with respect to beach access issues in St. David. St. David, in essence, is the new hotspot in Grenada with respect to beach access, whether that is in Corinth, whether that is in La Sousse, whether that is in La Sujes. I know that you were involved heavily with issues around access to the Camaron Park, right? Which also affects access to Grandad's Beach, and also, excuse me, issues around the Silver Sands development. Now, Jude, with these recent issues happening in St. David's, we have not heard a lot from you. Is there a reason why your organization was not involved in what was happening in St. David's and what is happening in Livera now?
Hi, good morning, Callum.
Yes.
Thank you very much, and morning to everyone and all your followers. First of all, let me just make it clear that I am my history in Grenada, for those of us who know me well, has been in the tourism industry.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a director of tourism in Grenada on 2 separate occasions, and I think I was the first and probably the only person in the region, probably the world, to be a director of tourism in 2 separate jurisdictions. And that happened in 1993 when I left as director of tourism here, and I went to serve in the Turks and Caicos Islands.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe in tourism. And as a matter of fact, I was part of the process that saw the quickest growth in tourism in Grenada's history thus far. The period of 1987 to 1993. That was when we had the refurbishment and expansion of the Grand Beach, which is now the Radisson. That was when we saw the birth of the Cuyaba. That's when we saw the birth of what is now Sandals, La Source. And that's when we saw the Rex, right? That was the era when tourism really happened in Grenada. And you may realize that between 1995 and 2013, we only had about 61 rooms added to our room stock in 13 and a half years, compared to that era. And I was a part of that era, and I believe that tourism is a very good option, not an alternative, an option for helping to develop our industry, our economy. But when we were during the middle of that expansion, we had a concern that Grenadians should not become second-class citizens in the country, and they must have access to the best of Grenada, along with our visitors. Hence the reason why the Camaron Park came about. It came about at the middle of that expansion I spoke about earlier, and we felt that we had to secure as an area, part of the best of what we have, which was the Grenadian Beach, for our locals. And we can treat them with respect and dignity. They can have proper changing areas. They can have washrooms. They can be a place for the kids to have fun without having to go to a hotel and ask to use the bathroom or something of that sort. And we felt that this was crucial if we're going to, I would say, engender that sort of harmony, that harmonious development between tourism and the local population. So we believe that tourism is important. It is very useful, but we also felt that preserving something for our own people was crucial. And that's the reason why I had to jump in the ring when I realized that the Cameron Park was being threatened. Because I was a part of the formation of that park, and there was a thinking behind it, a logic behind it, and I felt it was being lost. And this is the same logic, I think, which is being lost today, as we see things are happening everywhere. We're not saying that it should not be done, but all we are saying is that the proper environmental and social impact assessment must be done to make sure that we don't destroy what we think we're trying to build, and we don't alienate our population. Because what can easily happen when that happens is that because the local population feels that they have been reduced to second-class citizens, they can become very antagonistic to our guests. And we can lose what we've always been known for, of being very hospitable, very warm, and very welcoming. And so I think it is very sad that we are going about this thing in the wrong way. I believe we can have win-win situations and win-win outcomes. But somehow we seem to be just going one way. We are refusing to do what needs to be done up front. And even when it is done, we are not disclosing what the outcomes of those assessments are. And we are also peddling untruths, which is very, very sad.
Okay, so Jude, where are you now with respect to what's happening in? Again, you again, as you indicated, you do come from that tourism development space, having worked as director of tourism in the 90s, and your argument was a question of room stock, right? Now, it would appear that the developments in Lasajas, the developments in Mount Hartman and Livera, and of course, the Silver Sands development might be addressing the question of room stock. Now, do you have any objection to any of these developments?
I won't, and I don't, as I said before. That's why I made it very clear. But however, it must be done with it should follow a logic. We have conditions that have been laid out. We have restrictions in terms of how close one can build, setbacks from the high water mark. We have carrying capacity of certain beaches. We have our sensitive mangroves and other things to protect, as well as the rights of our people. We have not been very much involved I've attended meetings in the St. David's to do with this scenario in St. David's to answer your question. But in St. David's today, we don't have a group, one established, incorporated group that is addressing this. But let me tell you what, there is good news on the way. We are, this week, the Safe Cameron Park Committee, the Grenada National Trust, the Willie Reddit Foundation, the Grenada Land Actors, which is a new group, we are all inking MOUs this week. There are a couple other groups we are also hoping to get involved, and come the 24th,
I didn't hear Dr. Antoine's group mentioned. Did you guys reach out to Dr. Antoine?
No, we are looking at groups that are involved in patrimony and heritage.
Okay.
But Dr. Anthony's group is a younger group.
Okay.
But of course, we would look for the support from everyone for what we're about to do. And as I'm saying here to you now, it's the first time I'm making this public. We are aiming at having, in addition to inking those MOUs, to have what we form as a coalition, a heritage coalition for Grenada. So when we speak, we will speak with one voice. The National Trust has power, it has clout, it should, but on its own, it may not be able to accomplish certain things. Neither the Willie Reddit Foundation or the Safe Cameron Park Committee or the Grenada Land Actors. But if we are together in a coalition, a broad coalition, we believe that we can really speak with a powerful voice, we can speak and be heard, and we can protect what is rightfully ours while we support and guide in a rational way the development of our tourism sector.
Cassandra, how do you respond to the pronouncement that Jude Bernard just made on the Bubb Report with respect to this broad coalition?
Well, I haven't heard back from Jude. I know, with all due respect, he did say that he was going to reach out to me. So I know you're busy. So I'm still waiting for that call. But I don't see the need to have another organization incorporated in St. David's to address the Lasages issue, or even in Rivera Mahartman for that for that part. We have organizations who are guided or who focus on heritage and culture, and I think it is their responsibility. I don't see the need to create another organization or another entity to address that issue. That's my takeaway from it. Yes, I understand that you want to form coalitions, but all we need to do is the organizations that do exist is to come together, understand that this is our heritage. This is I think the ultimate goal should be the development of Grenada and protection of Grenada, whether or not it's incorporated in your constitution or your bylaws. This is our country. It belongs to us. So there's no need to form another organization. You just get the organizations that exist. People can come in their own individual capacity and be part of that coalition. So I think the whole initiative to form a coalition is just going to delay the process. Just look at the organizations that exist, even those that may have gone dormant. No, this is an opportunity to resurrect these organizations and get them interested in something that's in the long term is going to benefit us all. This is our country. The beaches belong to us. The heritage building belongs to us. So there's no need to form a coalition, and that is my takeaway from what he's saying.
Okay. All right. Let me bring in Dr. Twine again. Dr. Twine, a lot has been said here. How do you respond to the question of having a broad-based coalition of pressure groups, non-state actors, to address some of those concerns that Grenadians have with respect to beach access and a number of other issues? I mean, Grenada's projected economic growth has been revised downward for 2020. Not only Grenada, of course, but the outlook, the economic outlook, looks very bleak moving forward into 2021. Dr. Twine?
Thank you. For a while, Kellon, you have to understand my sense of humor. I saw a little thing on the bottom saying you are backstage, so I thought you'd put me in the back room.
I would never do that. I would never do that.
Okay, look, seriously.
It would be the Grenadian people to do that. They can relegate me to the backstage, not me.
I will never do that. They will never do that, sir. They know where to find my navel string, sir.
All right, you proceed.
Couple of things. Yes, let me come in on some things. I do not believe that Grenada has enough NGOs. I do not believe that civil society is adequately represented. I believe that we need to have more voices speak out. I believe that there are a number of special interests, as Jude put it. There are some special interest groups that will need to be formed around certain issues. Let me just say that I believe that is the hallmark of a healthy democracy. When I think back at the era before 1979 and the era immediately after 79 into 83, we had many groups existing. I can think of one that stays in my mind, Tempe Progressive Youth Group. Those were active groups that played a part, not just in the sort of policy positions taken on certain issues that affected them, but Kellon, that was where our social capital was. They maintained the playing field. They helped to look after the elderly in our community. We need more of those. So we need more groups like the Grenada movement. And I believe that just as Jude was saying, you have some groups dealing with some specific things. Just as Jude was saying, you have some groups dealing with some specific issues. I call those special interest groups. We need to have a group that is focused on development issues. What are the economic challenges? And I don't think we have a special purpose group that's doing that. What I call the development dilemma, and what I heard Cassandra speak about that we call the democracy deficit. I believe that groups like ours are key for that. Secondly, I believe the coalition's a great idea. And I think that the more coalitions are formed, the more that civil society can speak from a coordinated set of positions, it will give civil society a better chance when they engage with government of having a lot of the recommendations taken up. Too many times civil society appears to be splintered, or civil society is not engaging with its full strength. Cassandra, even with the institutions that exist, you have a number of them that would be articulating on some issues, but the rest of them are silent. So I think really that's what I'm saying. Now, let me also say this. I think the groups that we have, I saw something pop up, which is where I'm going. We have some groups that's doing amazing work. I'm not just saying so, I'm telling you because my mother spent a lot of her life, for instance, dealing with the deaf, dealing with the differently abled. A lot of those groups are doing just amazing work with the resources that they have. You know, the group with Sister Judy Heads has changed so many lives. Absolutely incredible work. I think those things need to be supported. Yes, and I just wanted to really make that point very strongly. Now,
So
you mentioned,
go ahead.
You mentioned about where we are. Grenada is in a difficult place. And so programs like yours today has to engage the fact that we're talking about a double-digit decline in growth and unemployment approaching, if not just past 40%. And today we have to reflect on the fact that we have had a chance over and over to do some things differently. We've had a chance to bring in what other countries are now engaging as the new economy, and Trinidad's expanded it to the new society. People are realizing that with the petrocarbon resources and prices diminished, and the commodity prices down and the world market outlook bleak, that they have to change the development trajectory. And we too need to engage in that kind of searching, piercing introspection to move our society from where it is now. And let me say that I've looked at the throne speech, and I'm certainly going to be analyzing it with my group. It was sent to me. There are some good indications, but there are also some worrying things because I don't see the level of transformation embedded in the throne speech that we need to see to take our society forward. Now, this new economy and new society is not mine. I simply helped to develop and to build it out. But it was really first introduced by George Brizan, my mentor, like my surrogate father. And we were supposed to do some work on it, but he, of course, in his latter years, had some health challenges. And I adopted it and built it out. But it's now adopted in places like Trinidad and Guyana and Papua New Guinea and so many other countries, because we have to start talking about the fact that Grenada needs to be able to pivot off of the fact that there is a fourth industrial revolution. We're acting as though we still somehow thought 20 years ago. The world has changed.
But Dr. Antoine, you were an advisor to the current government of Grenada. And one would argue that you had the opportunity to effect the changes that you're currently talking about.
Absolutely, and I'm happy that you would mention that. But from where you sit and from where our public is listening, let me tell you this. Advisors do exactly that. I want to be very, very clear and unapologetic. If as an advisor, I could somehow effect the change that was handed legislatively and by mandate to a politician, sitting in a cabinet room and sitting in parliament, something would be even more troubling about our system of democracy than exists now. And of course, what I'm saying exists now is the fact that we need more voices. So you cannot put it on an advisor. Nowhere in the world can you put it on an advisor to effect change. That ain't happening, as we say in Grenada. I learned that term from Monk Morris.
But you were in the room. You were in the room where the
I have never, sir, with all due respect, yes. And I wanted to keep my tape because I want to say this loud and clear. I have never attended a cabinet meeting. Okay. And if, sir, I ever attended a cabinet meeting to make a presentation and leave, the government of Grenada was proper in all its forms to ensure that when any decision was taken on any matter that I presented, sir, I can tell you, as a Christian man, I was never there. So I will tell you this. I will tell you this. Let me tell you what I learned in 10 years. And this was said to me by my dear friend, Chester Humphrey, who, as you know, is very close to my family. It was said to me years ago, advisors get to advise. The decisions are made in cabinet and in parliament. And if you're not there, Yes, you can have a role. Yes, you can influence, absolutely. But ultimately, the decision is taken by cabinet and by parliamentarians. Don't let anyone fool you about that. Advisors get to advise. And if it were anywhere else, it would be, sir, improper. It would be improper for an advisor to take unto himself, to arrogate unto himself, a mandate that was duly given to a member of parliament and a minister to exercise on behalf of the people. So that is not the role of an advisor, and I've never played that role.
All right, Cassandra, let me give you a chance. Dr. Twine said a mouthful here. I'm going to give you a chance to respond. Go ahead.
Yes, he did. And it's interesting because I'm not really surprised by Dr. Antwine's response to the justification for the formation of coalitions. I know he addressed it, but I noticed that he tried to downplay the work of organizations in Grenada who have been working. He did make a very good comeback on that. And of course, you have to justify the creation of the Grenada movement. Grenada has over 600 plus registered nonprofit organizations.
Could you repeat that number? You said over 600
you have,
registered nonprofit organizations?
Yeah.
Okay.
Organizations. And for me, I don't see the need to have created another one. Yes, I understand that there are special interest groups that will focus on different areas, but there are organizations, like he said, he mentioned Judy Williams, who are doing work. Why didn't you, as somebody with well respected within your field, join one of those organizations and build them? You said they have limited resources. You may come with unlimited resources. Why not join one of the groups and build them up, resurrect them, give them that wealth of knowledge and experience that you have? And these are some of the questions that people, when the TGM was launched, they were asking, why the formation of another NGO? You have explained it. I commend you. Another thing, and I want to address the clipping that we started off with. You spoke about the captain of the ship, and that was when you were on the administration's platform. Do you think now that you are the right captain to pioneer the Grenada movement moving forward? Why do you think that? I'm looking on the chat and people are saying, do pressure groups really have influence? History has proven it. Young people, come on, we have a tremendous, crucial role to play in our nation's development. We saw it in the 1979-83 era, albeit people have their own opinions about that era in Grenada. And we see it across the world where young people stand up and they have created change. And I do believe that we standing up as young people, we have started some conversations in cabinet. And it's quite obvious because our prime minister decided to take the role of the minister of youth. And it says a lot to us, that we have started some conversations within the cabinet of Grenada. So yes, I think pressure groups they do have the role to play in the development of our country. For me, I believe in the ability of young people to be capable leaders, and that is what we feel that we have been lacking. We are tired of being recipients of projects. We are tired of people sitting in a room, technocrats, and deciding what we want without consulting us. That is why we are speaking up. And I get emotional about it because for years we have people sitting in a room and saying, this is what young people want without consulting them. And I've been part of civil society. The consultations usually are one or two of the same old suspects sitting in a room, and then the government goes and says that they had a consultation. And that is not true. We want our voices to be heard. We want a seat at this decision-making table. We are looking at you, Dr. Antwine, taking leadership of the Grenada movement. We are curious as young people to know, how was that leadership decided? Because to form an NGO, it means, obviously, I think you mentioned it earlier, that the founders would have some common interests. What are those common interests? Are we seeing another repeat of our history with technocrats coming together and deciding this is what Grenada wants? Grenada, which has like over 60% young people, and we are going to decide their future for them. I heard you say something in your speech when actually it was a question posed to you when you launched the Grenada movement, that you have no intention of retiring. That is one of the problems that we have as young people again, that we have people, and why we respect and we appreciate your contributions in the development of our country. What about us? What contributions do we make? Are we going to be part of a youth movement or a youth arm of an organization where you sit again and you come up with decisions and then you say, oh, well, we spoke with our youth arm? And I'm really, really passionate about this because all we've seen is just the same recycled faces over and over. And again, I really want to be humble and respectful in me saying this, in that we appreciate. I did my research on you. You have a wealth of intellectual experience, and I respect that. But what are the roles that young people are going to play in the Grenada movement? Where do we stand? You spoke in the clipping about lost time. We have lost 7 years. That clipping was when? 2013? We're in 2020.
Yes.
I mean, 7 years have been lost. How much more time do we have to give? For many of us, all we knew was Keith as leader. That's all some of us, that's the only leader we knew. And they came to us and they made promises, and the only thing that we got was a flagship program called the Imani program. Well, what are we getting? Where's our future?
Dr. Anton, a lot was said,
Let
but
me,
Cassandra and I want to give you the chance to respond.
thank you very much. Let me start from the last thing, and let me tell Cassandra that I too understand your frustration. And let me repeat, I too understand your frustration. You know, it is interesting sometimes we look at people, because by the way, this is the first time I've actually been put in the elderly category. I need to find my place. I'm telling you, usually having lectured, having taught since 1986. This is the first year I'm not teaching. My students always regard me as someone who spans the generational gap. So you've put me squarely now in the upper echelon, for which I thank you. Let me tell you that, you know, passion sometimes is not enough. It's important, Cassandra, but it's not enough. Let me tell you, as a young person who in my country was frustrated, let me tell you that the frustration that you're going through, I went through it too, right? I got, you know, without getting into detail, just to say I went through it too. And ultimately, I had to make a decision. Thank you with people like Ken Joseph. He will tell you that I was going to take my destiny in my hands and move on to study, because I was being frustrated and suppressed. And let me tell you that when you look at me, you would not know that I went to school farming. And you will not know that even when I came back with a first degree, right, which was the best first degree in economics, right, across all campuses, right, I was not employed for reasons I will tell you offline. So I understand youth frustration. But you know what we need? We need to also understand, Cassandra, that it also takes experience, it takes broad-based thinking, and we have to be analytical enough to separate what are the causes from the problem. So if the cause is what you said is Dr. Mitchell, that's all you've known. That's not me. What we advocated for, I'm happy you mentioned Imani, go to the 2013 manifesto and look at the programs that we advocated. Let me tell you where that came from. It came from a broad-based group just like TGM, NDC activists, NNP supporters, experts in the field. We developed a manifesto in health, in education, in youth programs. That's what's in that manifesto. So we believe that it's not going to take one group. By the way, the youth population is 40%, not 60. It's about 40% of our population. About 60% of our population is everyone else. And we have to have a society that reflects all of it. I think the issue now is that the youth feel that they're not adequately represented in what's there. That's fine. But we have to be cautious of not going from one extreme to the other. I could say things that sound good. I lecture young minds.
But you are saying things that sound good, Dr. Antoine. You are saying things that sound good. Proceed.
No, but it's very important. It's very important to understand what I'm saying. I want to be clear today. Youth is important. Passion is important. But it's going to take experience and intra-generational transfers if we are to solidify our society. People who are in their 30s and 40s and 50s have a lot to offer. A lot of innovation comes from there as well. So if the basis is only youth, Kelon, we have another problem. It has to be youth as well. I want to be very clear today on what I sense. We need to bring the youth in. I believe that's absolutely critical. I have a son who led, right, Black Lives Matter for his university. I understand the passion. I understand the energy. I understand the frustration. But we need to have a society that is broad-based for everybody, including those who don't have a voice. Next, When I said I don't intend to retire, let me repeat. I am a self-made man with the help of a lot of people in Grenada. I did not get by patronage. I intend, when my career is over as an economist, to do something in another field. And if you listen to that tape again, that's why passion is so dangerous sometimes. You would hear exactly what I said. When my career is finished in one area, I intend to do other things in other areas. And if it means ultimately I have to end up doing some stuff with the elderly, with youth. I love youth. I love young Black men who are disadvantaged and we can help them. Then I want to be able to do that full time. That is what I said. No apology, right? I did not grow up on patronage. I grew up working for myself, working hard. And when I believed I was not getting what I deserved, I took my destiny in my hands. And the final thing is this. You cannot at the same time advocate for democracy. Today I speak loud and clear to my population. We have an intellectual combat taking place because our thoughts are at war with themselves. You cannot advocate for democracy, but then say that you find a group of people should really go to someone else and not form something on their own. Let me tell you something. The very act of democracy says that a group of like-minded people in a democratic society, just like youth, just like women, they have a right to form themselves into an institution that they feel reflect their interests. And yes, they can reach out to another institution, but you cannot claim to want democracy, but then claim that you want to circumscribe the geometry of that geography by determining that a pre-existing group is one that a group of like-minded people should somehow converge to. It cannot work both ways. I want to be clear, it cannot work both ways. Democracy is democracy is democracy.
Yes, it is, and that is a valid point. But again, to go back to one of the points that the commenters was making earlier, do you feel that there is a deficit, a quality deficit, with respect to the other groups that currently exist in the civil society sector in Grenada, that you feel the need to form a new organization, as opposed to working within the confines of the current groups that exist?
Kelon, I want to thank you because I listened to your questions well, and you're a very precise man. I do not mean to flatter you. You spoke about quality.
You're not flattering me.
I want to be clear. I want to be clear. I'm not talking about quality.
Mm-hmm.
That's your question, and I want to hone in on that. That's it. It's quality. I'm speaking about scope. The scope of our group, which deals with a development dilemma where we want to build out something on the new economy, the new society, with some pillars a number of us feel strongly about. Right now, we have a group working on ICT, the Industrial Revolution, and applications in developed countries, which also has a component on what would happen in terms of employment opportunities where countries face pandemics like this. That's specific. So the scope of what we want to do, the scope of what we want to do, not the quality. The scope, we believe, is different. Now, we believe our scope lends ourselves to bringing in Jude's group and us supporting Jude's group and us supporting Cassandra's group and Cassandra hopefully supporting our group on education. But the scope of what we want to do as like-minded people who believe that all of us from different perspectives, from justice, law, and order, from renewable energy development, from how do you actually benefit from the new economy, how do you transform to a 21st century agricultural system, how do you deal with things like care and health. We believe that the scope of our group in the construct of a new economy and new society gives us a basis first to come together and to talk about content. And let me talk about this very quickly in 30 seconds. We believe that where there's a deficit outside of the special purpose groups, like Gren Coda and a number of the others, excellent work. They're doing what they mandated and they agreed to do. We believe that there is a problem when we talk about the content of what this development agenda for our country looks like. Well, I'm not going back, but going forward. What is this economy we want to look at and this society going to look at 10 years henceforth? We believe that that discussion leaves you with a deafening silence in our country. We believe that we have a role to play in helping to define what that would look like. That's the content. before we start advocating. In any political sense, we need to build that agenda first. That is our commitment. That is what TGM wants to do. And TGM believes that as a democratic institution, formed in a democratic society, where we believe there are more space for civil society organizations like ours, helps to build that democracy. It does not detract from it. It builds that democracy. That is our commitment to Grenada.
Let me bring in Jude here. Jude, you were waiting in the wind for a while. I didn't get a contribution from you. A lot has been said here, and one of the shall we say talking points, one of the themes that are beginning to emerge is just how fractured it would appear that civil society in Grenada is. Would you agree with that notion?
Yes, I agree, and there are a number of reasons for that. I think our generation has a lot of the blame to carry for that. I grew up knowing about civics and my role as a citizen and my rights as a citizen in primary school. I'm not sure how much of that is done today. I think when we had the revolution, we peaked in some areas, and when it died, we lost. We probably threw away the baby and the bathwater at the same time. And after the revolution, we found that some people had a bitter taste. It left a bitter taste in their mouth. There are many of us who became aspirational. We saw the prospects of doing good for ourselves. We saw scholarship in Cuba, in Kenya, and we saw the potential for upward mobility. And many people focus so much on developing themselves and their families. And there is that vacuum there in terms of the civic life of our country. And a lot of the problems we're seeing now are arising because of that. So even when we have people getting into politics, they are very shallow. Politicians are being recruited as how drug lords recruit agents.
That is a very loaded statement. That is a very loaded statement.
We go around.
Can you expand on that? Can you expand on that notion?
Who we think have influence and may be able to peddle our cause. So we look in the school system for teachers, or we look for other people which we think probably are brilliant and have some influence. But many of these people don't even understand what it is to be a citizen. So we offer them, we dangle things before them. A nice job, a lot of perks, power in your hands, pension after 2 terms, and a number of things. Just as how the drug lord woos in his young agents, some of them on the basis of their vulnerability. Nobody looks at the whole person and say, we want to develop in our country a generation of young people who are concerned about their country. They are proud to be Grenadians. They want to build it, and they have a passion. We look for those whom we think will help us win. As how the drug lord looks for the man who will help him sell.
But that is the nature. But that is the nature. But Jude, that is the nature of politics in the Westminster system. You have 5-year election cycles in which political parties are required to form a majority in order to form the government. That's how it works. So what do you expect the politicians to do?
A short-term approach, very short-circuited, and we end up with people. Some of them are very green, some of them are very rough around the edges, and many of them, most of them, don't understand what it is to be a citizen. Sadly.
Okay. All right, folks, we will come up for air. We will be concluding this program at 12:30 today. This program needed much more than an hour because I think there are a lot of issues that we needed to address. And I see Dr. Antoine is smiling away over there. Dr. Antoine, we will get back to you folks shortly. Stay tuned, folks. I'm going to be showing you a clip from the 1261 Film Festival on birds of the Grenadines. I thought it would be appropriate given that the festival is coming up shortly. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Grenadines Islands of Grenada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines are known for their pristine beauty on land and underwater. And while the island chain may be a part of two nations, the wildlife of the region does not recognize boundaries. Here you'll find up to 21 species of seabirds, 11 of which use these islands to nest and raise their chicks. These seabirds all have the unique and remarkable abilities to be masters of air, land, and sea.
All right, welcome back, folks. And let me bring the entire panel back here. And what we want to do is to really focus on a number of the current issues that are taking place in Grenada. Cassandra, I would start with you. Now, you indicated that some parts of the COVID-19 bill were incorporated into a new piece of legislation. I haven't had a chance to review the open paper from the last sitting of Parliament. So could you give us an update on what that looks like, please?
Yes, a few weeks ago, in an interview done on another media platform, our Minister of Health, when asked about the COVID-19 bill and when it was going to be tabled again in Parliament, stated that if we have not been paying attention, I'm not quoting him verbatim, what they have done is excerpts from the COVID-19 bill was incorporated into another act and actually passed in Parliament. I was not aware of that. Life issues tend to get you distracted. So I went back and I did my research and noticed that in updating the Public Health Act of Grenada, what the government did was incorporated some aspects of the COVID-19 bill into the Public Health Act. It was tabled and passed in Parliament a few weeks ago. So again, it's important, and I've been saying this for months, that given that we are in a state of emergency, which means that we have temporarily surrendered some of our fundamental rights and freedom, critical as citizens to pay attention to what our elected officials are doing within Parliament. So while a big hiatus was made and a lot of individual citizens went out and protested against the bill, they went ahead and inserted some aspects of the bill into the Public Health Act, while many were not paying attention. So yes, we have regulations which we are guided by the way now, now incorporating the Public Health Act. One of the things that concerns us, and there's a similar issue going on in Trinidad at the moment, for those who are paying attention, where Commissioner Gary Griffith had an exchange with Prime Minister Keith Rowley talking about the Public Health Act, which Trinidad is also guided by. What Gary Griffith was saying in that stating is that the Public Health Act only gives the police the authority to deal with citizens in public spaces. Have parties within their homes and other private confines. What Commissioner is saying is that the police doesn't have authority to go in there and arrest you. Of course, they can go in and talk to you, good community relationship, with the police and talk and say, what, we are under a pandemic, we are guided by regulations. Kindly stop the crowding. So these are some of the things, even within a grouping of civil society network, that we have been paying attention to. And now Grenada is guided by the Public Health Act. And we have started reviewing the Public Health Act and the implications for us as Grenadian citizens. And we have a lot of concerns. And the mere fact that our elected officials in a democracy, while they had assured us that they were going to have consultations and hear our concerns about the draconian bill, to date it is still quite unclear who the Office of the Attorney General met with. The only thing I've seen thus far is a release from the Bar Association stating that they had met with the Attorney General's office via Zoom. But what was discussed, I am still, and I know grouping of civil society is still unclear as to what suggestions the Bar Associations made to the Attorney General's office. who else they have met with, we still don't know, because as a grouping of civil society, we can say that they haven't met with us. As a group of young people who spoke up against the bill, to date, the Attorney General's office have never reached out to us. And I can hear the justification, oh, well, you could have sent in your recommendations and comments through email. I know there was an email given to the general public, but that is not a consultation, because you're asking normal citizens to read a bill that's written in legal terminologies and then understand the bill and ask you a question. And that is not deemed a consultation in from our experience.
Dr. Antoine, the budget is coming up. I'm not too sure if the date was published, but what are your thoughts and observations? Now, before I actually get to you, Michelle Lewis says, did Dr. Antoine apologize for defending the most corrupt politician in our country's history on the political platform? Dr. Antoine, what has changed now that you enjoy the perks of the Green Cartel for years and now you have a Wakanda moment? Dr. Antoine, what say you?
Exciting, but I think it's a matter of public record that I enjoyed no perks. That I was contracted by our government to work for 10 days a month, let me repeat, 10 days a month as a consultant, and that I studiously and committedly worked all month without prejudice to what day it was, doing all kinds of interesting things for our country, such as the growth and poverty reduction strategy when we came into office that allowed us to benefit from 8 million euros. I had to go into hiding for 2 months to work on that document over Christmas. I literally went into hibernation, supported only by, interestingly, by Zoom, no, it was Skype then, with Michael Church and Fitzroy James over Christmas and New Year's. So I have absolutely no benefits from the quote-unquote green cartel. Nor, let me be clear, nor have I ever needed any. Because one of the things that I've learned quite early is how to fend for myself. I first worked in a supermarket at 12 years old. I have since been working in agriculture, raising chickens, raising vegetables, etc. I have needed no support from anyone. Nor have I gotten any. That's fine. The second thing, no, I want to make that pellucid on your program. The second thing is that I worked in trade and certainly as an economic advisor. Let me be clear. I have absolutely no information or evidence, which is why you would see on my chat whenever these things come up. I have no information or evidence. You see, I believe in due process. I have no information or evidence about any corruption. So I have nothing to defend. I didn't sit in cabinet. I was not in the Ministry of Finance's administration. I was an advisor, right? I want to be abundantly clear on that. Yes? So all who want to strew these things around, whether it is about Dr. Mitchell and Nazim, listen to me. I don't have time for that. Our country is in a crisis and I'm in a hurry. I want to look to the future. Yes, and we have limited resources. Cassandra, I agree with that. We need to focus on that. I'm not looking at issues of these things that I don't have any evidence on because they're legal. So this matter with Trinidad and the state of emergency, quickly. What Gary Griffith said is that if you want the police to go in to do a job in private property, empower me. Because Trinidad does not have a state of emergency on now. Grenada does. One of the issues I have with the way in which the legislation was premised in Grenada, and I've not seen the new one, is that in law, there is a principle that you do not put in place measures that are more restrictive than are necessary to achieve your objective. The problem that I had with a number of the measures that I saw, in addition to the issues raised by Cassandra, is that a number of them were an overreach. They were more than were absolutely necessary to achieve the objective of keeping the society from enabling the virus through facilitating the rate of transmission. I had a problem with it for that reason. I will look at the new one, okay? The third matter is looking forward. Looking forward, we believe that we need to enable agriculture to move with new technological developments, and it doesn't mean that everybody has to move to microchip computers doing farming. There are a whole range of activities that we need to move to, but a lot of them, Kellan, must now be based premised on exports, export markets. And a lot of them must be premised on how do we enable sales and economic transactions by farmers and economic agents, middlemen, traders, that do not necessarily depend on having big shipments, but now can essentially be done over the internet. And how do we enable payment with payment platforms that simple people can use? We believe we need to look there. And we have a whole body of work, as I said, being done on that. On energy, we believe that we need to hear something on what are the prospects for our country based on where the world economy is now on the energy side. We don't believe that it's sufficient for us to sit and say, well, look, with energy prices down, that's off the table. We have a commitment as stewards of the resources of our country to talk about how do we enable a complete energy policy, and certainly to get answers to what's happening with petrocarbons, what's happening with renewable energy, and what is our plan as we look towards 2030 and 2035 and 2040 in concrete steps, not in high-flown language. What are the concrete steps that we're making in the direction of energy security, maximizing all the resources we have, the blue economy? We think Grenada has done a lot of work on the blue economy. Grenada led this thing diplomatically early. My understanding, in fact, my recollection is that the blue economy, the secretariat, I think whatever it's called, like it might have been the fund, the Green Climate Fund. The Green Climate Fund was supposed to establish an office in Grenada as its only other office outside of South Korea. I don't know what has happened to that office. That I know, Grenada was supposed to be the headquarters for outside of South Korea, which would have meant, the way I recollect it, over $50 million per year, essentially being handled by that office with all the spin-over benefits, the blue economy. I want to hear more about that. So you asked me, so yes, we can go on and on, that will come out later, but we believe that we now need to look to the future.
Okay, so it would appear that you have a heavy agenda. You have a stacked agenda. Who is helping you as part of your organization? You appear to be the person that we see a lot, but would I get a commitment from you, for example, that other members of the organization would appear on the Bubb Report in the future? For example, after the presentation of the 2020 budget.
Well, thank you very much, Kellan. I didn't know you would get tired of seeing me so often. My recollection is that this is only the first time. I was only getting warmed up to come in on your program. But let me tell you.
But Dr. Twan, I think the people, no. I am in control of this panel, Dr. Twan. I ask the questions here. No. I'm going to ask you a question. Who are the other members of your organization?
No. That's fine. And let me just make the point to you that there are other members helping us with this agenda. Michael Douglas, many Grenadians outside who are helping us with this agenda. There are Grenadians who are in Grenada helping us with this agenda. It is not something that I can do alone. And certainly other Grenadians coming on it as the face of the TGM, you will see that. But I was just making the point to you again, because I heard your question well, right? That we've only been seeing you. I've made 2 public presentations. This is the second one, but you will see others because we have an executive. Yes, so that you will see there's a working group.
Who are the names? Who are the members on the executive?
Well, you know, we have the executive is Michael Church, Jenny Simon. There are a whole range of people on the executive that we have. But what our structure is working groups. So it's not the executive that you will see. We have a beautiful young man called Garth Walters, who just by happenstance happened to have done part of his research at the university, you know, on the CSME with me. And as fate may have it, we're lucky to have him. Brilliant. We have a number of people that you will see come forward on your program. That should cause no excitement. There's a working group on the economy and on agriculture. that working group, there's a chap called Samuel Andrews. There's several other people. There are people outside of Grenada. We have people helping us in Trinidad. Don't worry. When you tell us that you are ready after the budget to have a chat, TGM will provide you with the most competent team to participate in that discussion.
All right, we're almost out of time. We need to have wrap-up comments. And Cassandra, I apologize. I know I had to get back to you, but we're almost out of time. Jude, I'm going to start with you. In 30 seconds, what can Grenada expect from your organization as we move into a very difficult economic period in 2021?
That they can expect coordinated action, a receptive and open mind towards development, but there'll be a lot of insistence on doing things right so we can have win-win. And the rights, the privileges, the patrimony of our people would always be at the forefront. Can I have a quick word on this, on the generational issues that Cassandra addressed? And I hear what Cassandra is saying. I understand where she's coming from, but my advice would be, please, there are a number of young people, a number of people within the age that we can call youth, who are in professions, they're everywhere, who are totally disengaged. And as while it is good to have a few come forward with passion, I do not think the few that come forward represent adequately the full power and force of our youth population. And what needs to be done at this point in time is to develop a strong cadre of youth from everywhere, all walks of life in our country, in law, in medicine, everywhere, and to develop that kind of relationship with some of the older folks, if you want to call them that way, and then we can move forward. We've seen what happens when there is a lot of youth without the support of experience and age. We do not want a repeat of that. But I know that there is power in the youth, and there are lots of youth. Many of them, too many of them, are silent. Cassandra, I call on you to go deep, dig deep. Find, resurrect all those young people everywhere. PhDs, masters, everywhere. Get them together. And then you would find that you'll have an ominous force of vibrant, intelligent, bright young people, together with the experience of Dr. Antoine and other people like these. I'm certain we would be able to chart a much more successful course. But saying that the young people are frustrated and I don't think it will get us very far. We have to find good ways of having that sort of symbiotic relationship that will help to move the country forward with a good blend of experience, youth, zeal, and skill.
On that note, I'm going to turn to Cassandra.
And I agree with Dr. Antoine and Jude Bernard. And maybe this is an opportunity for me to send out a clarion call to other young people. And we have been doing it. I want to correct something here. We have older people in the background who are our mentors. We understand that there has to be a merger between experience and youthfulness. I have to emphasize the frustration of youth because we feel that our voices and our concerns aren't being heard by our leaders. I posed a question to Dr. Antoine earlier. What makes you think, Dr. Antoine, maybe we can talk about this after, that you are the right leader to move Grenada forward? Because you are the face of the Grenada movement. So what makes you think that you have the capacity and knowledge and the skills to take Grenada, move Grenada forward? That's one. I want to address something here. You spoke about corruption. And you have no idea of corruption, but there are allegations out there about the Lewis Hamilton saga. What was your role? And you have to address this respectfully because these are the things that are out there, and you come with a pass. We all do. So you have stepped forward as the face of the Grenada movement, And as the face of the movement, there are a lot of questions that have been asked. So that the Lewis Hamilton saga is something that you may in the future have to address. To us looking on, you have asked individuals to join the movement, but to join the movement, we need clarity to ensure that we are being led by the right captain. You said it. I'm curious as to what is your track record as a community mobilizer? Because level where you have, and I still listen to you sometimes, and I get the impression that you're still coming with that top-down approach, and we have seen it. It doesn't always work. So I want to know, what do you think? What is your background as a community mobilizer? What makes you think that you have what it takes to take Grenada moving forward? What makes you the right captain? And you have to address some of the stories that are out there, whether it be truth or facts. There are a lot of things out there that makes you look, because you are high-level political, aligned to the NMP. So there are a lot of questions.
I don't think you would want to accept that characterization. But Dr. Antoine, I'm going to give you the chance to wrap up, please. We almost out of time.
No, thank you very much. No, I am never one to run away from issues or questions. I am absolutely proud of everything that I have done, my record of getting where I am. I'm a Christian. I've been called to a purpose. Scripture tells me count it all joy, and I do. I am extremely happy that I've been able to benefit from the instruction of George Brizan, who has remained close to me, even though, I saw things differently at times, and I have been extremely, lucky to have been ushered into my professional career by Dr. Reginald Peer. I have benefited too from my ability to have worked with the government of Grenada at a critical time. We've done some amazing things that now I practice with other countries. We were the first in the Caribbean and one of only 3 countries to renegotiate WTO bond rate, which protects poultry producers, so we can even be having a discussion today. And that's why we have a beverage industry, a beer industry today, because we've done all of that. We have an amazing record of good performance, but there is a time for everything under the sun. I have no grudge or grouse or quarrel or angst with anyone in the NNP or Dr. Mitchell. I'm not sure where that came from. Dr. Mitchell and my father and my family continue to have the best of relations. We do see things differently. And as a man, you would expect that I have the prerogative to view things differently. And sometimes people don't have to get together on all the issues, but certainly I am not in any quarrel with anyone. And so, having benefited from that, let me just say that I believe that Grenada needs a new economy and a new society. The matters that you've raised, looking back, not afraid of them. I have a judgment for $500 and something thousand from the OECS court, which says that the allegations are untrue. And when the persons who made the allegations were asked why they made it, they told the judge they did not know and could not understand. If you are in law, the judgment is there for all to read. It's actually been in the West Indian Journal now, where lawyers look at it. It's the most heavy damage for defamation in the entire Eastern Caribbean jurisdiction. I have nothing to answer. I've gone through that already. So I'm looking forward. New economy, new society. I do not believe that I'm blessed by God to lead any organization. If the people of Grenada think that I can offer something, great. I'm prepared to speak with my family, to consult with my God, and to make the decision at that time about whether that is really what I ought to do. Where the TGM is concerned, my colleagues and others have determined that they want me to act with the executive, and we act in a democratic fashion in bringing this institution through its first year. I'm happy to play that role. I'm gainfully and happily employed, but Grenada is my home. And it bleeds my heart when I look at what I see in Grenada, and I know that we can do so much better. It bleeds my heart even more when I see that we've started such good work that's been taken up by others in Trinidad, in Guyana, in Papua New Guinea, and we are still not benefiting from the intellectual capital that we put in this program, just as we aren't with the blue economy. So I'm here, Cassandra. I've been now taught more than 500 students. having taught since
Okay. All right.
1986. I
Yes,
am here
Dr.
to
Utai.
work with the youth and to work with the whole of society, Kellan. I am your servant.
Okay.
I've always been your servant. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for appearing on the program. It is clear that we would need a much more extensive treatment and a series of programs to address these issues, which we were not able to do on today's show. But folks, don't go away. I want you to remain in the green room so we can have a green room conversation as I end this program. To my viewers, thank you. We had a break last week, but now we are moving ahead full steam with our programming for the rest of the year. Thank all my viewers of the Bubb Report and listeners of the Bubb Report. And you guys have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.